voted on what you did.
The appearance doing what I thought they should have done.
All right, call this meeting in the New Shoreham Town Council to order. Today is Monday, November 4th, 2024. It is 3:45 PM. We start our business today with a closed session, the suggestion of our solicitor, request of our solicitor. Can I have a motion to enter closed session, please? In a second, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Yeah, take your time. Karen, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, so this one is, I don't know whether unusual is the right word, but we have a couple, as a council, a couple of policy decisions we need to make on this one that you highlighted in the red line version that we got.
You don't necessarily have to make a decision on them. It's just the information that I provided was just to let you know that under the law, you do have the ability to fluctuate the numbers a little bit. So, again, nothing for you to do unless you want to.
Can you just go through this one for everybody, please?
Yeah, so high level, the comprehensive permit ordinance currently exists in your local ordinance. State law, as you know, changed a bunch of things, including the law on comprehensive permits. Just so for those of you who don't know, comprehensive permit is a process. It's an application process in which affordable housing projects that meet certain criteria can be permitted more quickly. They submit one application to one board rather than multiple applications to multiple boards. So these changes are all state law driven. Large sections of your ordinance are being deleted and then replaced with the new language. The two items that I flagged, again, don't require anything from you tonight. They're just to inform you that you do have the ability to change the amounts as indicated, should you choose to at any time. Those two items that I'm talking about, the first one I believe is on page 3 at subsection C2. And then the other is on, I have it at page 4, little c.
It's 4D, letter C.
C, yep, 2, and then it looks like D, C.
So can I interrupt with a really practical question here? Do we have we ever had a developer propose a comprehensive plan, whatever, a comprehensive permit for an affordable housing project?
I don't know the answer to that. I've only
I don't-
been
I
your
don't-
land use solicitor, but I would defer that to Allison. Not while I've been here.
Yeah.
Allison, do you know the answer to that?
No, there has not been one in the 10 years I've been here, and probably years before that. So one reason of that is that we had, the town had 10% low and moderate income housing percentage on the housing chart that Rhode Island Housing prepares. In recent years, we did lose that 10%, so we weren't subject to comprehensive permits. So this is important now to make sure we have this ordinance in the zoning ordinance in the case that there is a comprehensive permit submitted.
Isn't this how Seawind started? Yeah, so we did have
You have had, yeah, I don't know what year that was, but there I know from Jen, there have been ones years ago.
we had one that we did not do because it was the town and we decided we wouldn't take that route. And the Seawinds, which is up on High Street, was started under this, and there was a tremendous amount of controversy at the time, and it did get pared down from what they had expected, but it has happened, and that was when we really put the push on to get up to the percentage that would keep us out of it. Like 20 years ago, probably.
So the flexibility in C2 for Karen and Allison is that we could have it be a larger number than 1%.
Correct.
Is there anybody who feels inclined to do that? That'd be a pretty big project for us.
Yeah, I don't think you would need that.
No,
No.
unless there's an inclination here, you know. And the second one in C.
Well, just to clarify, sorry to go back on that.
No, go ahead.
It's giving you the option to place that 1% limit. So you can either have that sentence or not have it at all. So,
I see.
right, Karen? So there's no, yeah. I don't see there's a harm. I don't know if there's necessarily any harm in having that in place unless you intend to have a large significant number of units in 1 year. So
I guess I'm trying to understand what the statute says. You know, the statute says we can limit it for-profit developers to an aggregate of 1% of the total number of year-round housing units. Is that what the statute says?
Hold on 1 second. I can't read my notes. I apologize for the delay. Hold on.
it's probably trying to protect communities from overdevelopment if you're
Yeah.
getting a significant number of applications from comprehensive permits, you know, controlling development.
So I understand what the rationale is. I'm trying to understand what the statute says.
Forgive me. Just pulling it up now. Sorry, this is a long one. Forgive me. Okay, so the statute, that's the old one. Okay, a town with an approved affordable housing plan that is meeting local housing needs as defined in this chapter may, by council action, limit the annual total number of dwelling units in comprehensive permit applications from for-profit developers to an aggregate of 1% of the total number of year-round housing units in the town, as recognized in the affordable housing plan and notwithstanding the timetables set forth elsewhere in this section. The local review board shall have the authority to consider comprehensive permit applications from for-profit developers which are made pursuant to this paragraph sequentially in the order in which they are submitted. And I believe that is the exact language in the draft.
So given that we're under the 10%, do we have the ability to do this, or would we do this and then, you know, as Martha just said, which we are sort of working diligently on regaining that status?
So you're right to ask the question. You have to have an approved affordable housing plan, which I believe you do in your comprehensive plan. And you have to meet your local housing needs as defined in this chapter. And that is defined as, hold on. Sorry. That definition is extensive. So I would recommend that if this is something you want to look at in detail, we would need to evaluate whether the criteria under this particular definition is being met or not. It's not something, it looks like there's some pretty detailed information that would
Well-
need to be acquired.
In the range of things we've worked on, this has a very real practical application for us.
Mhm.
And I would rather take a more comprehensive look at it than we're going to be able to do tonight, it appears.
And that's fine. My
Okay.
office can put together a short memo explaining what the requirements are to meet those two criteria. And I can work with staff to also gather that information and make a recommendation in one way or another.
Great. Thank you very much, Karen and Allison. Appreciate your time. Can I have a motion to close this public hearing? Wait,
Oh, do we need to?
is that what makes,
Yeah, I think you would like to continue it to a date certain.
I love it when you, thank you.
And maybe you can check with Karen and see what kind of timing she needs.
Yeah, how much time do you need, Karen? Tomorrow work for you?
I just need a couple of days. You can continue it to your next
That was-
meeting should be
that
fine.
was- That was a joke.
So the 18th is.
The 18th. Can I have a
That's
motion to continue this to?
No, it's not. The
That's-
14th.
That's
is
what
liquor approval.
that's what I thought. So procedurally, don't we have to close the public hearing and then?
No, you
continue?
we keep the public hearing open.
You know, Martha, I'm just asking the question, okay?
Yeah, right. You would keep the public hearing open. You would continue that public hearing, then you could open, you can continue having the discussion.
So we don't adjourn the public hearing, we're merely continuing.
Just
it.
gonna
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to continue this public hearing until November 18th? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. Guys have it. Item 5, can I have a motion to open the public hearing to discuss elderly and disabled tax abatement ordinance? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. Amy, you want to lead this one? I know we've discussed it.
Sure, yes, we have discussed this a few times. So the recommendation here is on the elderly and disabled tax exemptions to do two things, two primary things. One is to raise the income level from $40,000 annually to $55,000 annually. And the second is to raise the tax credit amount from $600 to $850. And that's based on the CPI changes from 2012, which is the last time it was revised, to August of 2024, which is when we put this together. There are some incidental or minor changes that include adjusting the penalties from 12% to 18%, which is what our tax penalties are throughout the rest of the ordinances and the rest of our administration system. And then to define a resident as 12 months per year, which is then consistent with the homestead exemption.
Homestead,
ordinance. So,
Any questions for Amy?
So when will this take effect?
This would be
Approved.
effective 12/31/24. So the tax bills that will go out next July.
And what's the impact? I mean, it's probably minimal, right?
Bear with me. So in the last tax year, we had 9 accounts that had senior and disabled exemptions. for a total of about $5,400 of tax dollars. So.
Great.
Fairly small.
Jennifer, did you have something?
Yeah.
Come on.
Jennifer Phillips, and I'm on the Senior Advisory Council, and we've been going over this and have proposed this. Minor question here is we had proposed it as $60,000. I'm just wondering why it went down to 55,000. Was that because of the CPI?
Sure. So your senior advisory was working on this concurrent with the Board of Assessors. So you both came to similar places at the same time. Senior advisory's recommendation was a slightly higher income limit, 60,000,
But
but
less-
actually less of a tax credit.
Yeah. Okay.
Ultimately, the Board of Assessors brought their numbers forward to the council because it was that higher limit. The numbers, I know senior advisory had slightly different numbers from CPI calculations.
Mhm.
Depends technically which month you're using. The math on CPI can be a little bit inconsistent unless you use the exact same data points.
It makes sense. I
so-
understand. I was just wondering how that happened. I
Ye-
didn't realize that we were working at the same time that they were. Okay.
And by
Yeah.
the way, if the $5,000 is a big deal when you go back, come and tell us. I want to make it work. I think
Right.
everybody here wants to make it
I'm
work.
just wondering if the 60 would allow a few more people to take advantage of this. But you're right. If we find out that that's the case, then we can.
I mean, one of the problems when you do these things is that everything is a cliff. I mean, it's why the income tax system is the way that it is. It's marginal rates, so that if you make over $100,000, if you make $101,000, you're taxed at the higher rate only on the $1,000. So it's a tough one to sort of to not have cliffs.
Right. No, I understand. I understand. I just wanted to ask and let you know that it's different than what we had applied for, but we're still very thankful for this.
Terrific. Any other comment from public? Millie, just so that I'm doing this procedurally correct, do you want us to close the public hearing and then act on this? Very well. Can I have a motion to close this public hearing? Is there, all those in favor indicate by saying aye? Aye. All right, that is adjourned. Can I have a motion to approve this amendment to chapter 17, taxation and finance, article 2, exemption from taxes, division 2, elderly and disabled section 17 to 35. 17-35. Sorry. Second, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing on taxation and finance veterans exemptions? Moved. Is there a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Public hearing is now open. Amy, same deal?
Sure, very similar, except that the math here
Yeah.
is much less discretionary. The statute exists in state law, and what we have the authority to do is to change it based on revaluation numbers. And so in a memo that I had given the town council in September, we worked out that math. The last change previous was again in 2012. And so our obligation is to keep the tax benefit amount equal to what it was then, which was $887.44. In order to back into that number, we're looking at an exemption amount of $160,768.
So in a sentence, the town of New Shoreham is not reducing veterans benefits here.
We are not reducing veterans' benefits. We are keeping the benefit amount consistent with the state law.
Gotcha. Are there any comments? Any questions for Amy, guys? Can I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Can I have a motion to approve this amended ordinance of chapter 17, taxation and finance regarding veterans exemptions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. All right, Millie, we need to set a public hearing date for-
December 18th.
So can I have a motion to set a public hearing date for sewer allocation and cost? November 18th? So, do I have that right? December 18th, sorry. I think I may have said,
We were doing November for the continuation.
oh, okay,
And now we're doing
gotcha.
December for
I
the.
just wanted to make sure I didn't mess that up. So December 18th. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Public hearing date for our next zoning ordinance change, which is adding balconies, decks and porches. Can I have, do you want that on December 18th as well? Can I have a motion to set the public hearing date, December 18th, second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Item 9, mobile food establishment permits. First is to discuss an act to set the cap for 2025. Is there anything, do we have any interest or anything that would require us to contemplate changing this number?
You have no new applications at
Right.
this time. And you had one applicant from last year that was the Kelly Walsh as, can't think of her business name right now. Farmstead, thank you.
Farmstead, yeah.
And she is not reapplying for her.
Okay.
For her license, as I understand.
So that leaves us with 6.
Right, unless you choose to keep
But
one
that's, the
open.
cap would be 6, right?
We currently would have 6.
Yes. Great. Any thoughts, comments? Neil?
I would say keep it at 6. If someone comes forward, there's one left for them.
Gotcha. That makes sense to me. Makes sense to you, Millie? Yes. All right, can I have a motion to set the cap on MFEs at 6? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Discuss and act on a request to use town property for Block Island Gourmet. This is the pizza one. What do you need from us? Do you need us to pass this resolution? Or do you just need consent from the council?
In order to, I would want to vote for you to authorize them to use the town property.
Right.
Has this been an annual thing?
It has,
It has.
and there's a lease associated with that, and then
Yeah.
a lease fee of, I believe it's $500
Right.
a year.
Can I have a motion to approve the agreement for the use of town property for Block Island Gourmet LLC, Plat 4, Lot 68, Dingy Beach, Mosquito Beach, Corn Neck Road? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. Item 10, discuss an act to set the cap for 2025 on hawkers and peddlers licenses. We have 1, correct?
Right.
Can I have a motion to set that cap at 1? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. Item B, discuss an act on a request to use town property. This is Julia Gasner's. It's up by Sock and Pond, Settlers Rock. Can I have a motion to approve this agreement for the use of town property? Second.
Just a procedural
Yeah, oh,
question
sure,
on
of
it.
course, sorry.
So is that actually town land, not state land, where she is?
I recall it being town, but
It is town land.
Okay.
And she was, I think we ended up relocating her at one point to get her in.
right. Yeah. Can, Pam is here. So noted. Can I have a second to that motion?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Right. Item 11, discuss an act to set locations for 2025 mobile food establishments and hawkers and peddlers. These are all the same. Are these the same?
No, there's some changes to this one. Sullivan House has asked to have a second location and to allow them to serve from their property at the Sullivan House. So that would be an addition of Plat 5, Lot 59, if you choose to.
So
do
it's the
that.
same pizza truck, it's
Same-
just in a different location?
Do you want to come up and speak to that?
Sorry.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Michael Ryan, 1234 Corn Neck Road. Yes, excuse me, we're asking to be approved for the second location, just in case of inclement weather and such, to be able to have it up on the property.
So you have the Mosquito Beach
Yes.
spot, which we just took. This would enable you to also, to move the truck to Sullivan House?
Yes, on times when like the weather was, drag weather and have it up on the hill.
So would you say I'm just curious, your primary spot is
The
at
primary
Mosquito
spot is
Beach?
Mosquito Beach,
But you want to be able to move it up there?
on occasion if necessary.
Thoughts? No thoughts? No, we haven't. That's why I'm,
Sorry.
Where does it go at night anyway?
Do we
I'm
speak-
sorry.
This is Linda Mahalik, Magical Sullivan House.
Hi.
And so you're asking for,
We're asking to be able to use the pizza truck on the Sullivan House property in times of inclement weather.
gotcha.
And I asked, this is just,
Mhm.
curiosity. Where does it go at night anyway?
Oh, it parks on the property, but we don't have it open.
Right, but it goes up there anyway.
Yes.
It is in fact mobile is.
Yes.
Yeah.
and sorry, Martha, I just half tonight, I apologize, so that was on me.
It's no problem.
missed
We
it.
just have never done this before and
Yes, I
it's
appreciate your
a,
Cindy, I will say that Cindy Kelly did have her truck and she had 2 locations for that one.
oh, did she?
Yeah, she was in Mosquito Beach at
Yeah.
during the summer, and then she moved into town to the
In-
Goburn property.
Oh, right, in the,
Yes.
yes, in the winter, yes. Thank you for reminding me of that. Does anybody?
Yeah, should we maybe just, we'll just try to formulate this?
Go ahead.
Before you move on to a motion,
Yeah.
I do want to note that the Draper property, as we talked about, the farmstead's no longer in operation, so you may want to consider removing that one
Right.
from the list. I
Right.
just want to make sure.
Thank
know
you. Go ahead.
No, I'm good with it. I'm good. I'm fine.
Martha, any thoughts?
No, not. As long as you keep it on the Corn Neck Road a good part of the time.
Oh, definitely.
The plan is to have it there.
It's a good location for people to
Yes.
get to go to
Yes.
the grocery store,
Absolutely.
way home.
What is your property zoned at? What's the zoning? Residential, commercial?
I believe it's residential.
Yeah.
Double check for you.
It's a really good question, Neil. Is it an allowed use there?
Make these loud.
I'm just gonna-
Yeah, I'm gonna check to see where we're going.
Yeah.
Just gonna call, might be quicker. Hi, Sean, what is the property zoned at? Yep. The same as Mosquito Beach residential.
don't think it could.
residential A.
And probably have more than that. Because you. Let me look, I'll see what it comes up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it was made a permitted use in residential C mixed use, M mixed use, Old Harbor commercial, New Harbor commercial, and service commercial, which would make the Mosquito Beach an outlier anyway, so that's seems to be another hole in that.
So I think Neil's question is a good one. You know, if you have people who live / vacation there and you have multiple days with people driving up that driveway, that's an issue for people, right? Nobody's doing anything wrong, but you know, that's what we have to contemplate. And to me, there's a difference between having it on that, you know, up at the Sullivan House and having it at Mosquito Beach where it's a high traffic area anyway. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you look at most of these places are sort of pretty commercial. You know, what do you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
I guess, I'm sorry, cousin, to bust your balls on this one, but what's
It's
the
the parliamentary
difference
term.
between a rainy day and having it at Mosquito Beach and a rainy day and having it at the Sullivan House?
What is the difference between? We have a business at the Sullivan House, so the people staying there would be able, you know, they'd be able to access it.
The rooms upstairs and such.
Yeah.
All right, so can I just
The
say I'm
rental.
finding myself perhaps irrationally uncomfortable with this. I think the spot is the spot. If you wanna, quite frankly, come with for me anyway, I feel like inclement weather, I don't know how it makes a difference.
Because
from-
we also have like cover, like we have a tent up, so there's also cover for, you know, for like when it rains or the weather's inclement.
So you're gonna drive the truck in under the tent?
The truck
The truck
can,
can be outside. the tent.
outside the
People
tent, people can
can
go
drive the truck in.
inside. So it can be like kind of connected.
See, that to me starts to seem not like a mobile food establishment, but a restaurant with the kitchen adjacent to a tent. I mean, please, guys, I'm
Okay, if you're only talking about it being used for people who live or on the premises to begin with. Because I don't think you're gonna get a lot of traffic up there on a bad day
No,
anyway. So is that a restriction that would make this work? That it be confined, be restricted to the people who are already staying on whatever, on Indian Head Neck, on your
Yeah.
properties?
Excuse me, that'd be fine.
So Millie, how does the property,
Yep.
isn't there something expanded use when it's zoned a certain way, and this would be changing that?
I think that there's a concern here about that,
okay.
because it isn't allowed, that the new ordinance that was just adopted to allow for MFEs, which had, you know, we were previously allowable uses, that was just an
Okay.
oversight,
yeah,
No,
does not include the residential A zone.
Right.
So I understand that Mosquito Beach has been an allowable, been allowable use all along. I think there, some consideration should be had with the attorneys about how to kind of move forward. I wouldn't want to expand a non-conforming use though.
No, that's kind of, yeah.
So I have the owners of the property on the phone and they're just, what we're looking to do is have the Sullivan House as a second location, not to have restrictions, but to use it as a second location.
You know, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, I was looking for a way to tie the existing commercial use to this, because I do think this is an additional use if you open it up to the public broadly.
Any other thoughts? Am I an outlier here?
No, I was just trying to formulate.
Yeah, yeah, right.
whether-
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Variable, so that's why I backed off there.
No worries.
Understood.
And by the way, this week after this was posted is the only couple of times I've read this. I am not sort of philosophically unwilling to, if there's, a newly formulated idea for doing something at the Sullivan House, I'm happy to hear that. But probably not via this mechanism. You saw like, this is a really weird area. I see Andre here and Chris, this is a weird area where the state controls and there's local control. So we walk in some respects an even finer line here. So for me, my preference would be not to have it at Coronach Road, to have it at Mosquito Beach. If you have an idea about something that you want to do at the Sullivan House, then come and talk to us about that.
Okay, thank you.
So the motion would be to approve the following locations for mobile food establishment permits. Plat 1, Lot 16, Settlers Rock. Plat 4, Lot 68, Mosquito Beach. Plat 5, Lot 104, Carroll Payne at Ford Island.
Yes.
I did on purpose. Plat 6, Lot 150, Interstate Taxi Lot, Water Street. Plat 8, Lot 1, Southeast Light Reservation, Spring Street. Plat 19, Lots 5 and 6, Champlin's Hotel, Marina and Resort. Plat 20, Lot 21, Great Salt Pond. That removes the Draper property as requested and says that the Block Island Gourmet stays at Mosquito Beach. Can I have a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. All right, item 12. Is everybody still riveted? You never knew how much fun it was, did you? Noise meter, Amy, Paul. Let's talk noise.
I'm actually going to turn it right over to Chief.
Great. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Good evening. How are you?
Great.
So I did send you guys that information about the total number of noise complaints that we had for the summer. There were 52 total, 25 were commercial liquor license holders. 9 of them were reported as the town area, 1 from a car alarm, 11 were from residential locations. 5 were beach parties and Settlers Rock complaints. Those Settlers Rock complaints were typically 2, 3 o'clock in the morning after everyone had left the bars and some of the younger folks were still not ready for bed yet.
Yes.
And 1 was a barking dog in a residential area. I did, you also have For the liquor license hearings, we break down all the calls for service
Right.
that we have. So you have a list in that. It's also broken down with the noise complaints from each particular one.
Right. So how does this work, Paul? Basically, someone calls dispatch and says, I gotta, it's really noisy at fire number 821 Beacon Hill Road, and you send someone out to my house. Is that how it works generally?
Yep. Yes, it is.
And when do you decide to use the noise meter? How does that work?
Typically, the complaints that we have in the residential neighborhoods, a lot of it are wedding parties or, multiple families that have gathered together. They're sitting out at the yard 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and they're just being too loud. Typically, when we go there, ask them nicely, go inside for the night. Most of the time they do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they don't. We go back a second time. Usually never a third.
Right. Right.
So in the residential zones, everything in the town area, typically a lot of those, it's bar and bar noise related. And I have Matt go and take meter readings.
Gotcha.
Matt is one of the only certified sound meter techs in our state.
Interesting.
There's very few police departments that have anyone that's actually certified to take sound measurements from a noise complaint. Our meter, it's spelled out very specifically in our ordinance what kind of
Right.
type of meter we need to use. That meter meets those standards. It's sent every year to get calibrated. Matt has obtained and retains his certification.
Right. Do you know, just sort of anecdotally, based upon your conversations that you might have with other departments, is our ordinance unusual, or is it consistent with what other towns have?
No, it's pretty consistent with that.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty consistent with the decibel level. There's a piece of it that allows for a correction. And what the correction for our ordinance is 5 decibels. Some towns are 3, some are 5, and that's depending upon.
So like if it's 65, but it reads a 70.
Correct. So when we get a corrected, like Matt will go and take a reading, and if it was 73, the corrected reading is actually 68.
I see.
You see what I'm
You
saying?
just apply a 5 decibel reduction.
Correct.
As sort of as we all hear about, a margin of error.
Right. Right. And there are some places that, unfortunately, Matt has a training to do over on the mainland tonight, so he's not able to be here. In the conversations that he and I had a little bit ago, wind is also another thing that, we have here. And he said in the state of New Jersey, the way that their laws are written, if the wind's blowing 12 miles an hour or more, you can't take a noise meter reading.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which is kind of interesting.
Huh.
Yeah, Paul, this just clicked. Did he go to New Jersey for that?
Yes, he did.
I remember that. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. And just, if I can just interrupt you for a second. So I go out my front door to try to get audio of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And I get wind.
Yeah.
That I don't even think is blowing.
Yep.
If you back that up.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, there's some of the readings that we had this summer. I looked through them all, and I think in total, I'm going to say probably 5 that exceeded 70. None exceeded 73. So when you apply that 5 decibel correction, they're all under the 70 decibel limit.
And then when you have someone who's over, you go in and talk to whoever's the manager and
Yes.
talk about volume?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And all of them, Nicks and Kittens both, when they've been over, Matt will typically go over and say, hey, look, it was 73 or 71 or 72, and it gets turned down.
Mm-hmm. Right. Any questions for Paul?
Yeah, I think
Neil?
one of the problems that I've noticed
Yeah.
is the ordinance is very clear that the speakers are supposed to point inward, and they never do. So that's another thing that adds to the decibel level, and that's pretty consistent on everybody with outdoor music. So that enforcement or reminder could be really important. I'd also say I sat with Matt on it. And he sat behind a fence doing the meter reading, not close to the property of the one in question. And I said, well, why do you do it this way? Well, I don't want to be seen, but which is legitimate, right? Because if someone sees them doing a measurement, but at the same time, it's behind the wall. It is taking the wind element out of it, but it's also discounting the decibel level.
Right.
And my understanding is that's where he always would sit for his decibel level, so.
Right. Cindy, come up here, and if you don't mind. Actually, even if you do mind. Hello.
Just thank you for bringing this issue up. Been waiting for this, so that was great. I believe I speak for all of us when I say, like, all of us that have issue with noise, that we are not against music. We just would like it turned down. I work at the front desk of the National. We have tourists in every day that come to the island. They want to go and listen to music. People love music. Nobody's against music or allowing all business on the island. We want all businesses to make money and survive. We're in it together. We have to share the space. As neighbors, our first go around with the noise was 30 years ago. We were successful in turning and changing the closing time of the bars from 2 a.m. to 1 a.m. Music from the bars and restaurants and wedding venues right now can be heard far and wide. You can hear them at homes on Great Salt Pond, to the other side of the island, on Spring Street, High Street, Sunset Hill, Ocean Ave, Old Town Road, Cornick Road. We're all hearing the music. It's everywhere. Noise and proliferation of outdoor venues have reached the tipping point. We're wondering, is it fair that we can hear music in our homes, the words of every song above the TVs? Some wear noise canceling headphones in their houses just to read a book. Some invest in AC and white noise machines just to sleep. Does it make a difference that many of us are getting up to go to work in the morning and we're being pounded by noise and vibration? And we do have vibration in our chest from the base. Is it fair for business owners, especially the hotels and the B&Bs, whose guests say on the way out the door, we love your establishment, but the noise is too loud and we're never coming back. We're going to find somewhere else to go. What about the restaurants nearby where they would like to have a quiet lunch or dinner without blasting music? Everyone is playing music. You can start at Bridgegate Square, and by the time you reach the beachhead, you've heard 4 different music choices coming at you with that short walk. How far away from a venue should music be heard? At the property line, 25 feet away, or hundreds of feet away as it is currently heard? Why is the volume so high? Is it music or is it advertising? I would like to say to the purveyors of music, the people will still come if the music is lowered. They will still enjoy it and they will still have fun. I guarantee that no one has ever said, please turn the music up, I can't hear it. It's not a risky move, just turn it down. Actually, research has shown that the louder the music, the more people drink. And if you just think about that. Respectfully, I ask the town council to consider reducing the decibel levels in the service, commercial, Old Harbor commercial, and residential mixed-use areas. Why not combine these areas to 1 decibel zone, since so many are impacted? Residential and commercial are co-mingling in this area. Like, it is different from my house to the street. It just doesn't make sense. For those who don't know, the noise table that we're all looking at, this decibel table that gives the decibel range embedded in the noise ordinance has been in existence for at least 35 years. The noise ordinance that was last updated 20 years ago, it would be an understatement to say that Black Island has changed in that time period. The time is now. We have been told for years to call the police. It's really hard for us as neighbors to continuously call. It doesn't seem important enough when there are so many pressing issues for the police to handle. For others, it's a why bother? This issue has been going on for years. We all respect the police and the job they do. It seems so trivial to endlessly call, and I think that's why the phone calls are down. We know you are shorthanded. Also, it shouldn't be up to us to monitor this. It needs to be solved. We all know the music is loud. And Chief Dean's report, and which went on from the 1st of January to the 10th of October, it was 52 noise complaints. The report states that none of the complaints exceeded the acceptable decibel level. What does that mean? The answer is abundantly clear that the decibel level is too high. Our noise ordinance needs to be thoroughly scrutinized and reviewed. I have many ideas and thoughts about much of it, including outdoor entertainment. I know as we go forward, there will be discussions on how to mitigate the noise, soundproofing, site plans, newest speaker technology, inspections, adherence to the ordinance, sound checks via distance from the source. As I've stated before, I look forward to working together with the council to find solutions that are fair for all. Section 12-2 in our noise ordinance states each person has the right to an environment reasonably free from the noise which jeopardizes health and welfare or unnecessarily denigrates the quality of life. Lastly, the town has the power to guarantee that residents and businesses are able to peacefully live together. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Amy, this is just for me, I assume others would like to see this, but could you ask, I don't know who it would be. I'd really love to get a sense of whether our noise ordinance is out of whack. Sort of the question that I was asking Paul. You know, are we an outlier? Is there sort of a commonality in decibel level? I don't know, and I'd love to know that.
Chris, Willie, we're in line with a lot of other municipalities, particularly in the commercial zone.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between commercial decibel level and residential is 5 decibel. Residential in our ordinances is 65. Commercial is 70. There's a reason for it. Okay. The normal hustle and bustle, summer hustle and bustle of downtown is 70 decibels. Okay. Outdoor entertainment licenses, we have a responsibility to operate within those parameters, and we have. In fact, the complainant that was just up here came last time and said no complaint, which she very rarely does, and admitted to such. Now we have another row of, like, another issue here, which the writing was on the wall when the complaints came 2 years ago. And, or last year, I think it was, we didn't have someone certified, right? We were accused of breaking the ordinance, Captain Nix. We were accused of breaking it, although there was no way to actually prove that we were breaking it. We were accused of that. Then we have someone certified to measure the noise ordinance, and he did. And I actually did the same thing Neil did. I sat with him. And he does it from several locations in that area. One is I told him actually to go on my property behind the building. Cindy lives up the hill. I want to know. It never exceeded 65, ever. I'm below those parameters. Now you want a 5 decibel reduction, which I think is what the letter that I read that was.
You're talking about,
No, I'm talking like the letter that I read wanted a 5 decibel reduction from 70 to 65.
65 is already residential. We're commercial. There's a difference because there's business being done in commercial. Why it's commercial. All right, we're operating within the parameters. And to Neil's point, he is correct. Like businesses need to point the speakers in the right direction. Does make a difference. Ask musicians to use certain speakers because there's certain speakers that they use. There's a Bose tower that does surround sound. Well, you could set it so that it doesn't do that. So it only projects one way. You have to be cognizant of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have outdoor entertainment. We're open 120 days. We have outdoor entertainment, 50 to 60 of those on the deck with acoustic and Sunday Fun Day.
Mm-hmm.
Like this isn't an everyday, every weekend, all year thing. All right, the National has outdoor entertainment 7 days a week. That's where Cindy works. Persephone has outdoor entertainment as well. Everybody has outdoor entertainment because people want outdoor entertainment. And all of us are doing it responsibly if the noise readings are such.
I just so you know, I didn't say you weren't.
I know you have.
You're like, we
I have to, I'm looking at you guys though. All right.
Fair enough.
All right. So you have Old Harbor commercial, New Harbor commercial, service commercial that connects the two. All right. Let's just take the triangle. You have Kittens. You have Tigerfish. You have Macaroons. They all have outdoor entertainment license. They all have outdoor entertainment. You have me. You have Poor People, Old Island Pub, Kimberly's. All have outdoor entertainment. Of course, I hear the National when we're not playing music. It's the way the wind blows, how clear it is. Older nights, sound travels further. We're still in compliance. All right, you break that down to 65. It's not doable. It's not doable. We're already in that threshold. We're already at 68. So you add that, what, 5? We're at 63. We're below 70 consistently. My point is it's not going to end. You go to 65, it's not going to end. All right. We're doing business responsibly. Anytime there was any issue whatsoever, we addressed it, which I think was maybe 3 times. Maybe. All right. So we're doing what the ordinance requires. And any ordinance change is really making it harder and harder for businesses out here to do business. Music isn't noise, in my opinion. It's not. It's personal preference on what you want to hear. But this notion that you can hear the words to the music inside your house, I would challenge. Particularly when the readings at my establishment, particularly behind my establishment, below the complainant's house, are far below the 70. It's a bit exaggerated, I think.
Thank you.
So the one comment I'd make to you is, I know it feels personal, given who's coming forward, but there is a ramp up of bikes, partiers, the 6 establishments. I mean, so it all like culminates with an increase in noise. And it's not just you, it's the culmination of all of these different outdoor licenses. And again, let's not go down the road. We're not trying to stop outdoor licenses. There's no intent. But there is a cumulative effect of all the noise on the island that does come into play. The music becomes additive. You even said, whatever the number is, a normal day is 60. And then you throw music on top of it and you're getting to the top. I think community-wise, that's the concern. And you weren't at a meeting a year ago or 8 months ago where a lot of people not in your area were raising concerns about music that carried up hills and all of that. So I know it feels personal, but there is a cumulative effect of all the things that's going on. And I did raise at the meeting last year that we would look at outdoor licenses, because when's enough? Because 5 on a corner, we're going to run into problems, right? So I'm not saying we're going to pull those, but having an approach on it's needed.
So my take on this has been the same from the get-go. Just, I mean, here's my philosophy on it. We have an ordinance. We have a certified person who's doing the measuring. The measuring occurs. I'd like to know, and you comply. So for me, I'd like to know whether we're an outlier. I don't, are we? I don't know. And it's not.
A quick glance at Westerly, Newport, and Narragansett, we're all pretty much the same.
They're all the same.
Okay.
That's the point that I want to make is you look at those other areas, Newport, for instance, I grew up in Newport. It's a year-round business.
Yeah.
You know, Stonington, Westerly, Mystic, like a lot of the hubs, it's a year-round. You know, and that's kind of what, I mean, if you could pass an ordinance for tolerance, I would ask you to do it because, again, all these businesses we're talking about, and yes, it does feel personal, Neil, because let's face it, I'm one of two places, Ballard's being the other one, that actively advertises as a music venue. I mean, that is my business model. And you're talking about taking away basically my business model, okay? Because when you reduce it by 5 decibels, it's unattainable. I'm telling you, I'm in the business. It's unattainable. You're never going to get anybody satisfied with noise in this room by reducing it by 5. Then you might go to 60.
Hey, guys in the audience,
Yeah.
you get a chance to speak.
get a chance.
So let Chris speak and then you
Yep.
can jump up with where the chief is.
So my point is it's a small portion of our year that gets affected. I can hear the Springhouse from my house. I can hear Ballards from my house. I can hear all the things that it's again, I could hear it. I could hear at my own establishment. I could hear them all. I get it, but that's always been since I've lived here in 91. That's been it. And I kind of get upset when, you know, some of the people that complain were right there next to us a while back, having fun in these same establishments, now complaining about them. It's a little irritating. Okay, and yes, what I read in the letter from Nancy Pike was a reduction of 5 decibels in the service commercial. Doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Molly, Cindy, whoever. Bridget, sorry.
And I live down in the one house in the corner of the Four Corners. And I think the issue is beyond the decibel level. There's so many issues that create the sound. It's the vibrations that you feel all night long rattling. Your sleep is disturbed. I couldn't have a conversation in my backyard with my mother. The noise in my backyard is louder than the noise in my front yard. So it's a study of acoustics that needs to happen. We build buildings, we've lost buildings, landscaping changes. All of this affects the perception of the noise. So even though he is within his decibel level, or the town is within their decibel levels, that 5%, first of all, 5 changes in decibels is huge when you study how decibels work. So we need to create a study of how this is all impacting everybody. It's not just changing the decibel level without any knowledge of how it's affected. Sound bounces off of things. Equipment has changed dramatically over the years. Vibrations, there's a frequency of sounds, high-pitched sounds versus low. So it's not just a, change it, don't change it. We need to look at it. And that's what I would request us to do, is to have a more in-depth analysis of it. Because I'll tell you, my perception is I can call it a noise complaint. The reader will show up to read it. The noise level will go down, the noise reader will disappear, and the levels will go back up. How many times can you call? At 12:30, the noise goes up. So that would be my request
Okay.
to really look at it. It's not an easy solution
Right.
by any means.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy Miles, Sunset Hill. Well, a lot of what I was going to bring up has already been brought up. I agree. I think the decibel levels need to be evaluated. I don't think we should just be picking a number out of the air because it's much more complicated science than even I would like to think about. But there is data regarding negative health impacts to all this noise. Times change, think cigarettes, seatbelts, and now noise. Over the years, times change. And I just think that a study is a good idea, as much as I don't really care for them. I think the hours for outdoor entertainment, too long. 9 hours of noise before you can enjoy peace and quiet. You might want to rethink that one. A lot of the places that have outdoor entertainment licenses, last year, Lunch Bucket wanted one. I happened to be at the meeting. And you said, well, they can have one, but it can't be amplified. It's an eye-opener for me. I was thinking about it. I taught science in a classroom that was larger than most of the outside spaces in the businesses in town. There wasn't one kid out of the 24 sitting there that had trouble hearing me, and I was not amplified. Maybe we need to think about how many amplified entertainment licenses we're giving and maybe a minimum square footage for outside. Because if you read your ordinance, it does appear when it was written, you want to try to keep the sound on the property. Point the speaker towards the building. That doesn't happen. Last year, and you're welcome to come to my house and listen. In my house, I was hearing a not so good piano player and singer singing Billy Joel. I'm a third of a mile from the Spring House. I shouldn't hear it that clearly. I shouldn't hear it so that I can't watch television or read a book. It was too loud. And when I called the Spring House, the manager basically said, oh, well, we can play till 9 o'clock. So someone brought up wind. Yes, wind carries sound, but if the wind is carrying your sound so that someone in a residential setting can hear it and hear it well and can sing to the song if they so desire, maybe you don't play the music that day or you turn it down in the same way that they wouldn't have outdoor entertainment if it was raining or a thick fog. But that benefits them. I mean, we need some consideration for the people who live around them. And the problem that I had this summer, you know, the police statistics are all well and good, but there are a lot of people who won't call the police. I had to think really hard. I don't remember which night of the week it was, but it was over summer and it was late. And I actually drove to town to see if I could find the source of the music. And no, town was actually quiet. It's quieter in town than it was in my bedroom. So I finally called the police, and let's just say the police dispatcher isn't real pleased to get a noise complaint. They have more important things, and I understand that, but it was important to me. The police never came to my house. Wasn't going to sleep. I couldn't, and nobody came. I called back. I was told that they actually went out. Well, how relevant is it and how accurate if they didn't come to at least stand in front of my property to hear what I was hearing? How do I know if it sounds the same at the beginning of my street? I don't know. Nobody knew where that was coming from. So while you have a short-term resident database, Do you ever think about maybe having an outdoor entertainment database, assuming that people having weddings or big family parties actually apply for some kind of an entertainment license? I'm guessing these people didn't just because it went so late. But at least the police would know. So if I called and I said, oh God, I can't sleep because of this music, they could look and see, oh, well, it's August 12th. They have an event going on in this area on the island. I mean, it's just a suggestion. I don't know if it'll do anything, but it was very frustrating that nobody knew where that was coming from. I posted it on the bulletin board to see if somebody on the bulletin board was listening to it. And I did not get, I got suggestions, but nobody really knew. The problem that I had at the Spring House were omnidirectional speakers. There is no way you can point that to the building. And quite frankly, are the police really going to go up to a speaker and check to see that it's only coming out in one direction and not another? If it's a box, it's obvious. If it's turned towards the building, they're in compliance. If it's not, I don't know what you do when they're not in compliance. But something has to change. I understand that businesses want to make money. I get that part of this island. On the other hand, I didn't elect to live in a business area. And I think that people, there has to be a compromise. It's never going to be as quiet as it is now. I get that. Summer is a crazy time. I get that too. On the other hand, I think that people shouldn't have to think about leaving their home because of noise and going someplace else for 10 weeks, just so that businesses can make more money. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Just to clarify, Millie, if you're doing a wedding, you have a permit with you, right?
Yes, if they're having a party that's 75 people or over in the residential zone, they have to file for a special event permit. And we do circulate that to all the departments, including the police department. They must sign off on the application.
Terrific, thank you.
And it requires 30 days.
Oh, Jesus. I'm sorry. Yeah, right. Any other questions, comments? Ann?
Just going to read a letter that I sent to a number of you, but
Yes.
not to everyone.
Yep.
So regarding noise.
Hey, Ann, would you just state who you are for the people
Yes,
listening?
and law for, in regarding noise on Black Island. I'm sorry? I sent it maybe a week ago,
About a week ago?
maybe around then, but it didn't go to everyone, but I'll read it now. The right to be. The right to be free of public or private nuisances is a legal right.
Hey, Ann, I'm sorry to be a pest. Would you put that closer to you?
Sure. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. The right to be free of public or private nuisances is a legal right that allows property owners to prevent or seek redress for activities that interfere with the use and enjoyment of their property. Noise pollution is one of those activities. A nuisance occurs when a landowner engages in an activity that significantly interferes with the use or enjoyment of another's property. A nuisance that violates an individual's right to quiet enjoyment of his or her land is referred to as a private nuisance. Noise that is disruptive between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. meets the criteria for a private nuisance. In my case, I am referring to the excessive noise created by the loud music played at Yellow Kittens until 1 a.m. many nights all summer long. In addition to the loud music is the shrill voices of the revelers as they move outdoors on the north side of the building, and when they leave the building after 1 a.m., continuing shrill speaking and laughing until well after 1 a.m. I have on a number of occasions written or spoken to the owner of the property, Yellow Kittens, regarding this issue, suggesting that I would be willing to air condition their site, which would close the windows, keeping the patrons inside, which would abate the noise. I also offered to lease their space at a mutually agreeable rate to allow for a different type of music, more pleasant dance music, which more guests might enjoy. These suggestions did not receive a response. One might ask, didn't I know of the kittens' noise pollution before purchasing the adjacent property? Having been a property owner on Block Island for many years, I was aware of this, but noise so loud that it caused my closed hurricane-grade windows to vibrate, and shrill voices after 1 a.m. I was not prepared for. I also recalled probably now 30 years ago when a very similar problem occurred at the National. The National at the time was open until 1 a.m. The party revelers leaving the National continued shrill speaking as they moved down the street, causing significant noise pollution that affected all neighboring properties. When this was brought to the attention of the National, they changed their closing time to 11 p.m., which solved the problem immediately. I think all business owners are very sensitive to not want to interfere with another business owner's right to operate their business. When one business owner's activities significantly impacts another business owner's operation, however, it would seem that, as occurred with the National, mitigation of the offending activity would be an expected and respectful outcome. It would seem that requesting kittens to reduce the decibel level of their music, perhaps moving their patrons to the south side of the building, and to close at 11 p.m. instead of 1 a.m. would benefit all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Anybody else? Go ahead, Cindy, please.
So just rebut one thing is I did play a tape for Chief Dean that was in my bedroom of the noise. And we could hear the lyrics in my bedroom. I'm just wondering, is there any thought about changing a decibel level? Is this something you would even contemplate and doing something across the board that's even for all of us? I just feel like we're so mixed in with the residential and commercial. I mean, it's, you know.
I know it's, you know, I wish I had a great answer because I don't. This has been educational for me, particularly, you know, the point that Bridget was making that the acoustics have a significant impact as well. So it's not, you know, and then frankly, on the other hand, you have Chris, who's been, in my experience, very responsive when says 65 is a giant problem for him. And I know you make that face, but I don't know this stuff. Okay. That's part of the reason that I started with, it would be good to know whether we're outliers. It's not my area of expertise. So, you know, the answer is, I don't know. I don't know whether a reduction of each decibel results in 10 additional people being more comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure how you measure that.
So many mitigating things you can do. For sound protection, if you do have outdoor spaces. Been doing a lot of research on this. And just for example, this is a little over a top example, but a new bar opened up in Narragansett called Boone Street Market. And they opened up in a residential neighborhood. It's right across from Crazy Burger.
Yes, just saw it the other day.
And the neighbors went crazy because never before has there been a bar and the music and this and that. And that's a little different because we've always had bars. We're living with the bars. So, but they pulled it back and they're figuring out a way to do it. And I just called them the other day just to say, thank you. You know, I think, you know, how did you do it? What, you know, that's great that you did. And they just said, we just need to find a way to have our music and get along in this neighborhood. And as we were speaking, they were digging out a trench for privet all around. I mean, that stuff helps. There's lots of soundproofing. There's things for walls. I mean, if you're gonna do outdoor entertainment,
If you have any of that stuff, I'd love to read it. That'd be
it's all
great.
over the internet too. I mean, I do, I mean,
Oh,
yeah, but I can help you. But I really want to, I mean, this has been going on so long, I really want to. And obviously, we have a lot more people involved and a lot more people, and you probably received more letters.
We received one from Nancy,
Is that the only one?
and Ann.
People said they were writing it. I got letters.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I'm privy to have those
Yeah.
conversations if they're not here. I
Yeah.
probably shouldn't. But it's not just the people here. I mean, and it's, you know, from end to end of the island, you know, from Great Salt Pond to Spring House, there's a lot of action in there. There's a lot of noise and a lot of residents too.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering what the plan is going forward.
I don't have a plan. I don't know. Yeah, I think it would be very, very helpful to get that information. Be very helpful to, you know, to talk to you and to Paul and to others and I mean,
It's so interesting with Paul. I mean, Paul came up with that none of this exceeded his level, but all of us are suffering in our homes and changing our quality of life. Like, so that it doesn't make sense. Obviously, it's too loud.
okay, I mean, you and I have talked about this.
It's great information.
I get the legitimacy of your concerns. I don't know what the levers are. As I said, I don't know that going from 70 decibels to 68 decibels is works. I don't know.
So
We have
that's
to.
not the problem. We could engage with a consultant,
We
not
could.
a lot of dollars, have them come just talk high level around all the things that have come up and the concerns that other communities. There's a number of different consultants in Rhode Island, specific in this area, with all kinds of solutions, just doing a quick look on the website. So there doesn't seem this doesn't seem, we're not going to be experts. We're never going to get parties to agree. Having someone who comes in is, I think, the next step.
Yeah, this is one of those that you bump into here, and I think we all bump into them sort of on different issues where I don't know enough about this. So,
It's really, also, you know, also co-mingling the zones, I think would make a difference because we're so mixed up and, you know, from Great Salt Pond to the Spring House. I mean, just make it one noise zone.
yeah,
I mean, why is it different from here to the road?
yeah. No, it's very helpful. So we'll look at that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
To help, do
Renee,
anything.
thank you, Cindy.
Renee Meyer, editor of the Block Island Times, and I say that as opposed to residents because my office is right across the street from Captain Nick's. And I don't know if when you have an outdoor entertainment license, my impression was that that was always supposed to be live music. However, maybe since Chris isn't around in the afternoon, he doesn't realize his bartender starts blasting music at probably about 3 o'clock every single afternoon, Monday through Friday, when I'm there. It's very loud. Now, I don't mind it necessarily unless they play Billy Joel or that song Brandy. But there was a bartender a couple of years ago. He started his day off with Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, which It's a nice way to wind down at 3 o'clock. But anyway, my point is in that with this conversation, I don't know if you're including music like tape from Spotify or whatever. People don't use the radio, stereo, but doing that every single afternoon, like somebody said, it is advertising. Nobody's there. They're setting it up. I don't see any reason for it. I don't hate it, but I don't see any reason for it. And it's just, I think, something to consider when you're looking at your
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. Interesting. Jennifer?
I initially wasn't going to speak to.
You don't want the
issue.
seniors?
I didn't come here to speak to this issue. However, after hearing everything,
Yeah.
I just thought I'd share the fact that when I'm at work, I listen to ballads and I close my windows. And if I don't, people on the phone ask me where I am.
Yes.
Because it sounds like I'm in a bar, not in my office.
Yeah.
So I close my windows and I call the police. And again, if the volume comes down for a little bit, it goes right back up within an hour. And it's not even just the music, it's the screaming. There are women that I say, I think you should get down there, somebody's getting hurt. I mean, it's scary, it's frightening. So I deal with that, but I realize I'm in town. I'm in town, this is where I chose to have my office. I'm in a commercial zone, that's fine. I go home, and at home, there are 4 different venues that I hear. I
Right.
sit out on my porch and listen to music. If it was one, I could deal with it, but it's 4 different sounds coming at me in echoing weird, it's the land.
Oh,
It's the way the
yeah.
wind is going, it's the way the land is going. And it's really pretty uncomfortable. So I realize I'm only a mile out of town, so it happens, but it is surprising to me. I'll be walking my dog at the school and I'll hear music from the center of town.
Yeah.
So it's at work, it's at home, it's everywhere. Thank God it's not in the wintertime. Right?
Yes. Thank you, Jennifer.
Chief, just a couple of questions. We've been at this for a while. Do you have the total number of calls? I think you spoke to it in the beginning. Noise complaints, how many total? 52. And now, this is something that kind of bothers me. You're calling the dispatch center, not the police. And there's a log of everybody that calls, whatever their issue is. There's a captain's log and they write it down. Now, when Matt's not on duty, who does the readings?
Don't have anybody.
Like you said, there's only one.
Right. We
Right.
don't have anybody certified to do it.
All right, so then if someone calls dispatch, dispatch will send Matt out. He doesn't need to get your permission first.
Correct, correct.
Okay. And then how many went over? We're done with the back and forth.
I'm gonna say there was probably like, I'm thinking about 5 in total for the whole summer, Tristan. But none of them exceeded 75, so they didn't exceed that 5 decibel correction limit.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Terrific. Thank you.
Phyllis, about a recent calling now and everything, every Sunday. I just called Matt directly. Just, because he's good. I mean.
It would be, sorry, it would be better if you called.
It would
the
be better if
station
you called the
because
station.
There's a log of it.
Well, if it's, you
but
gotta
It's the
do
wrong
it.
thing to do.
Right, but
They
that-
want you to.
that skews the number of
Yeah.
the total complaints, and I understand that. I would like to get your name in fire, because I want to find out what happened last summer. But that's part of it, and that's also part of this too, is coming here with the statistics. So if you weren't calling every Sunday, there's not a total number of call that's there.
Yeah.
I know that you feel like you're bothering us or that we have other things to do, but if we're going to address these problems, we need to have
Yeah.
statistics to say, this is what we have.
You know, the time, time goes really.
I don't have them in my hand, but I do,
Oh.
what times that any of the noise complaints were called? Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
if we're gonna continue this, somebody's gotta come to the microphone, because, okay.
Sorry.
And no problem. I mean, come up here.
About a year ago, when the short-term rental ordinance started, I remember you saying, and I wholeheartedly in agreement with you that tourism, the island is overrun with tourism, is what you had quoted, and that's why we were addressing the short-term rental. So I feel like we've done that, and it was a pretty confrontational, uncomfortable thing, but you've done it. And so now there are other parts of the tourism that also should be addressed.
Terrific, yeah. All right then. Millie, just, what time do you need us out of here?
Tonight.
Yes. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure, you know, I don't wanna. Yeah, exactly. Discuss an act to approve a resolution concerning a transportation safety committee. People review this. Do people want to do this? Okay,
I can say something first.
please.
I will not vote in favor of anything that says adequate training. I don't think that's the right word.
What do you think the right word is? Testing?
You can't train.
Let me have your pen.
To, ride, let's say a motorcycle license or something, I don't know, that,
Adequate testing of those who choose to.
Testing, yeah, the training, I think it was a year ago or 2 years ago.
Give me a pen that doesn't work.
Well, works when I had it, Keith, you broke it.
Are people okay with that change? Adequate testing instead of adequate training. So motion's been made, seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amy, update on Orsted.
So this is a general update. When these RFPs came across my desk, there wasn't much current information in the town council minutes about where the town and South Fork Wind were in their dynamic. So I wanted to share this with the council and with the public. Through the environmental review process that South Fork Wind, which was the first after R5 and is the smallest of the three that we've been engaged with. Throughout that environmental review process, there were 5 targets that were identified for mitigation of the visual impacts of the South Fork Wind Farm. These 5 targets weren't necessarily all put forward by the town, which is important, I think, to note, or lobbied for on behalf of the town, but they were the ones agreed to by South Fork and BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. And so where we are now in the process is that South Fork Wind has drafted these 5 RFPs, which are designed to implement the mitigation measures that were identified in the environmental review process. So the 5 resources that they identified were the Old Harbor Historic District, which the town did push fairly hard for. And that includes establishing a coastal hazard and resiliency plan, as well as updating the nomination forms for the Old Harbor Historic District on the National Register of Historic Places. The other 4 assets are the Southeast Light, the Spring Street Historic District, and Captain Mark Potter House, the Vale Cottage, and then the Spring House Hotel and the Spring House Hotel Cottage. Again, these weren't necessarily all things the town advocated for, but it's where we are. And so South Fork is now issuing these RFPs to implement these mitigation methods. In most cases, they are either making nominations to the National Register of Historic Places, updating those forms, or creating tourism-based materials in the case of the Spring House, for example. But as a party to the entire process, a consulting party, the town of New Shoreham has the opportunity to provide feedback and comment on the draft RFPs, which is why this is in front of you today. So we have that window to provide any comment and
What's the
feedback
date?
by November 15th. If anyone wants to look at them, we can do that. Come see me. At the same time, staff is reviewing as well, particularly the one specific to the Old Harbor Historic District.
Great.
So that's.
Can I just add, it's not more directed at Keith. So you had met with Orsted, a Northeast or US representative And the intent was to get more out of them than some of the things that were proposed. Are these two separate things?
So
or-
they are,
Okay.
because we engaged with them after these two were already permitted. So this is for the stuff that I was working on was for the third one. However, I actually think we had some at that point consensus that what we would ask for, to the extent that they were making money available, is that we would make the case that we would actually like to focus any resources that they would be inclined to provide us on the North Light. So, notwithstanding what they want to put the money into, I would personally think that we should suggest to them that that was our priority in negotiation over the third wind farm, and in my opinion, ought to be our priority.
And so those conversations can continue and will continue and will resume with relative to the Sunrise project.
Yes.
Specifically.
Yes.
Again, we don't have the opportunity to comment
Yep.
on South Fork,
Yes.
but they are ready to re-engage on the
Right.
Sunrise.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't remember. What is the downtown? Pam, you might know. Downtown Register, what is that now? What is the name of that? It's on a plaque going, when you go into the National, they've got a plaque over the door. That was done a very long time ago. There was a reference to it in the Green Book. It sounds like the National Register, but it's not the National Register. And is this the National Register?
No. The district of the National
Yeah.
Register Harbor Historic District.
That already exists.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's.
And so for that one, it's an amendment of the nomination form to update it.
Okay.
Some of the others are not yet on the National Register. And so for those assets, they are looking at development of a nomination form on
Was that like the firehouse?
Vale and
Vale?
Yep.
Is it the Bayberry or the, must be?
It was not specific enough for me to answer that today.
Okay.
Fair enough. Thank you, Amy.
Sure.
Item 15, discuss and act on agreement between the town of New Shoreham and Libra Planners to provide planning services. Amy?
Yes. Most of you know that the town has been searching for a new planner for some time, as Allison looks to step back from those responsibilities. And many of you also know Rhode Island is seeing a real planner shortage. So I am feeling very fortunate today to bring forward an agreement with Libra Partners out of Providence. Kim Salerno is the principal and Peter Fredericks is their municipal planner. They have significant municipal experience. This was a relationship that Marianne initiated. And subsequently, I was able to meet with them more than once. Margie joined me, Jen Brady, and Allison also spoke with them. So what you have in front of you is an agreement that preliminarily runs through June 30th, 2025 to make sure we're all headed in the same direction. It's a good fit. It does have renewal provisions as well. And we do expect it'll be close, but it's mostly in alignment with the budget that we have.
That was the question I had.
The structure is slightly different, so there will be some understanding in the first couple months of exactly how that pricing structure works with what we're used to
I was
seeing.
having a hard time reconciling the $50,000, not the cap. Is that, it says fiscal year, okay? And there's the term of this contract is 7 months.
Right.
And if you do the math that they have in the agreement, which is they figure roughly 20 hours a month.
There are some base amounts in that contract, so it's a mix of retainer and an hour, depending on the scope of the work in any.
I see. Okay, because I was having a hard time, when I did the simplistic math, their hourly rate was
No,
substantial.
if you go back and take
Yeah,
a look, there
and
is
I-
a base
I
retainer.
saw that
amount.
they had
Yeah.
it. Gotcha.
So
Terrific.
for continuity, will it be the planner throughout the 6 months, or is it based on project expertise? They'll have people coming and going.
No, it's a very small firm. So Peter will be our primary municipal
Great.
planner, with assistance from the rest. of
Perfect.
What does the structure look like? In other words, what's Allison doing and what are these guys doing?
Sure. So Allison is going to continue to do GIS work primarily. She's also very engaged in some of the major grant programs.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
GZA and Core Neck Road.
Yep.
So she's going to continue to do that work as well.
Right.
I expect there will be some collaboration, particularly during transition. But primarily the planning functions will move over to Libra.
Gotcha. Any other questions from the council? Anybody? We all set? Can I have a motion to approve the contract between the town of New Shoreham and Libra Planners? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. All right, Amy, GZA.
We actually have Allison with us.
Oh,
Hopefully she's
good.
Still with us, to
Terrific.
walk us through this.
Okay.
Allison, did you listen to the whole noise?
Yes.
Hearing? Excellent.
So this is a follow-up. As you're aware, the town had went out with a request for qualifications for our Core Neck Road Dune Restoration Project. The town received responses from 3 firms, and we had a review committee. And we are making the recommendation to proceed with GZA for the contract for the planning and design portion, phase 1. We have funding for the project through NIFWIF and the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. My memo kind of lays out the committee and, the project summary. And also provided the cost estimate from GZA, and they provided a detailed scope of work for that phase of the project.
Great. Yeah, actually, I both your memo and the submission from GZA was very educational. It's really well done, I thought. For a layperson, it was very helpful. So thank you.
Yep.
What's that?
Motion.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by
Aye.
saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Item 17, appointments to the building committee. These are your suggestions, Amy?
Yes.
So that would be appointing Amy Land, Mike Shea, Chris Hobie, Jordan Ryan, and Mona Dwyer-Helterline.
We're missing someone.
Okay,
The chief of police.
yes. I mean, that's fairly important. You're, are you sure? With the addition of Paul Dean, chief of police. Can I have a motion? Second, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Vacancies are the same, motor vehicles for hire, sewer and water, transportation, building. I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, we're
Hold on.